Hello and welcome to the Worn and Wound podcast. My name is Blake Bettner. I'm in studio in Brooklyn today, joined by producer Josh. So Josh, hey Josh.
Hey, how's it going? Good to have you back.
All right, thanks. It's been a while.
I know. I needed someone to talk watches with.
I know. Did you try talking watches with people in here, and they're like, "I don't want to hear about watches, Josh."
I did. That's why I texted you about my trip to the IWC store. So.
Oh yeah. You did text me about that. That was cool. We'll have to talk about that. We also got Zach Kazan here holding down the fort up in what is that? New Hampshire.
New Hampshire, yes. I live in New Hampshire.
There it is.
Thank you for remembering the state that I live in.
Yeah.
That's great.
It's the one just right up yonder, right?
It's up there somewhere, yeah.
Well, I think of Concord.
Concord, yeah.
Concord.
The capital city.
The capital city, yeah. So it takes me back to my grade school days of remembering the capitals of the cities anyways.
Better than I am.
I've never been to New Hampshire, so...
New Hampshire's great.
It's just not a state that's
it's
on my mind usually. But,
yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful place.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. I'm sure it's beautiful. Josh, what is that thing on your wrist?
Oh, yeah. This is my newest pickup. It is I have to remember. Oh, yeah. I forgot it's on here. The PXR5 from a company called Void. It's like a buckle. The easiest way I can describe it, it's like the case is like a buckle almost.
Yes, it looks like a belt buckle.
And it is a digital offering that they have. It's from the name of the designer is called. His name is Michael Young. I don't know how known he is, but he's like works with like a Swedish design house. And I don't know. I just something about this watch when I saw it. It's not incredibly expensive or anything like that, but I just like the fact there was zero branding on the case or dial. So yeah, so nice, and the strap's kind of interesting too. It's got a Velcro strap. It's got like a Velcro strap that wraps around this proprietary buckle thing they have. So
Velcro straps are becoming a thing. The watch I'm wearing has a Velcro strap on too. Zach, we know your thoughts on NATO's, but are you still on the fence about Velcro?
I'm looking at at this watch that Josh is wearing right now, the PXR5 on the Void Watches website. It's pretty cool. I like it.
Yeah. Is it a smartwatch?
No, it's funny. A lot of people think it is when they see it, and then I tell them, I was like, no, it literally does like 3 functions. It just tells the time.
It's like the PRX or something. You just like press the button and the time comes in.
Yeah. You know what it kind of reminds me of a little bit is the Serge Manzone, the Longines watches. It kind of looks like that. Yeah.
So you didn't
very like avant-garde. It's nice.
Yeah, it's cool. We'll get back to that.
Yeah.
Your IWC trip. Zach, what are you wearing?
Today I'm wearing the Worn and Wound X Laurier Gemini limited edition that we did a few years back. Decided to throw that on today.
Yeah, I love that watch.
It's great.
I'm wearing a watch that was just released as we record this today, the Vero Workhorse Chrono. This is I guess it's like an active lifestyle watch. It's not really a diver. I don't really know how to describe this thing. It's very strange. It's unusual, but like in all the right ways, like it's got like a wire cage that kind of comes around the case, and it's a Cerakoted steel.
It's interesting. It looks really
bright plastic buttons. I don't know. It's weird, but it's pretty cool. It reminds me of, and this was in that like forest green, and it reminds me of that Seiko SNJ, the Safari that I have, which I really like as well. It's a little like tall, but it's got a real short lug, so it wears like pretty well on the wrist. So. I think Vero has been doing that last watch that they did, Open Water, I really liked. And this one I think is really cool. Kind of a left turn from I think where they had been heading. So I like this new direction that they're on. So I'm doing some hands-on stuff with this watch. It's not perfect. They've got a few niggles here and there, but it's like $420. It's a pretty cool watch for that price. And I love this Velcro strap. I feel like this is going to be like a thing that we're going to see more of.
I'm a fan. I think I'm a fan.
Well, it's become a recurring thing on the podcast.
I know we're willing it into existence. Yeah. Or now do we just notice it more often because
manifesting Velcro straps?
I like to think we're influencing people.
Yes. Yeah. Exactly. So you went to an IWC boutique. Which boutique did you go to?
I went to the one. I don't know if they have more than one in Midtown, but I went to the one in Midtown.
That's on Fifth Avenue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't normally find myself walking up and down Fifth Avenue like that, but I was randomly there. And it was a lovely experience. It's the first time I've really walked into like a luxury brand watch store. And I was just like, I literally did it on a whim. And I was just like, I was walking by with my wife and I was just like, you know what? I'm not even like a big IWC fan, but I was just like, I just kind of want to have this experience. So I walked in, and it was lovely. Like, it was really, really nice. The people were really, really cool. Like I told you through text, I really lucked out because the Lake Tahoe, that they hadn't even had one on display in store. Like, they didn't even get one until the day before I went and visited. And they were just like, you know, we just got one of the prototypes in stock. He's like, if you want to see it. And that's really the watch I was there to go see. But I saw a whole bunch of watches that, you know, I think it's one of those things where it's like, you know, you never really appreciate a brand until you really see the watches in person and whatnot. You know, I think the Lake Tahoe is probably the one out of all the ones that I saw that I would most likely get at some point in time if I wanted to. But I got a new appreciation for IWC. Like, I really didn't understand what people liked about I mean, if it's your aesthetic, it's your aesthetic. But you know, seeing the dials up close was really, really awesome. Their perpetual calendar, one of their perpetual calendars that the woman, I think the rep's name was Rose. She was super sweet, by the way.
Shout out Rose.
Yeah, shout out to Rose. She showed me one of their perpetual calendars that was just amazing. Like, absolutely amazing. Felt wonderful on the wrist, and just the dial and everything was gorgeous.
Well, that's really cool. I'm glad you had a good experience there. And this was your first time in any kind of boutique like this. Were you like, what's going to happen here?
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, because me walking in there knowing full well, I was like, yeah, there's no way I'm buying or purchasing any of these watches anytime soon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and pretty much they knew that, but at the same time, they treated me really nice and took, like, I was there for like an hour and some change.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well, that's great. Yeah. Well, that's good to hear. I'm surprised. I've had experiences kind of all over the map. And the last time I went into the Vacheron boutique, they've got that new one in Midtown. Is that Midtown or is that like Uptown?
That's
like just at
the border, yeah.
Okay. And they have this like whole historic experience of the brand in this like digital, in like all these screens that you kind of go through. It's really cool. And the woman like took time. She walked me through the whole store for like 45 minutes. I was really appreciative of her. And those are like great experiences. And to me, like a real benefit of having a big boutique like that to create those experiences with exactly people like you and me. Like, maybe, you know, we're not like, I've got all the money in the world. I'm going to drop in and just like buy a watch, but you're like wanting to have an experience with a brand that you will now maybe like aspire to someday, or maybe it just like shifted your opinion on IWC, or you can share that experience with other people. Yeah. Which you are now with like,
and it definitely
Zach
did.
And I's mom. So,
yeah. And it definitely did. It makes me feel differently about the whole brand. I definitely, you know, it definitely put their watches a little bit more on my radar as terms of like a potential purchase to aspire to. So,
right on. Well, yeah, I'm great. I'm glad to hear that. And it's a cool boutique over there. It's like multi-floor and
it's really cool. Yeah. Really, really cool.
I guess like most of the boutiques in that part of man.
Yeah, they do. They take like, a lot of time and money.
It's pretty nice in here. Imagine that. Zach, have you been into any of those boutiques down there?
Yeah, I have. I haven't been to the IWC boutique. That's still relatively new. I think.
Yeah, maybe old, right? 5 years, something like that. It is relatively new.
But yeah, no, like you, I've had kind of like, you know, my experiences in those boutiques and in authorized dealers has really kind of run the gamut. And like, you know, what I'll say is like, you really remember like the good experiences and like, you want to return to those, and you kind of like you write off at least I have. You kind of write off the bad ones, and you don't do business with people who don't give you the you know, like just like the basic kind of respect that you know should get when you walk into a place like that. Which unfortunately is something that still happens. I think you know, sometimes in our hobby, you know, in certain corners of it. So
yeah, almost like this is just people have just like accepted that that's the way that the industry is, but it's not totally that way. And I don't think we should just have that expectations of the brands. And speaking of, we just recently wrapped up our Windup watch fair in San Francisco. And I think that's a great experience for people to come. I know a lot of the people that came to San Francisco, it was their first time at a Windup at all, or at a watch event, you know, period. So for people to come and get to have an experience, to see watches, you know, touch and feel, talk to the people that are designing, creating the watches, the people behind the brand, I think it's a pretty cool experience as well. Wow, a lot of people showed up.
Yeah,
in San Francisco,
awesome.
which was great. You know, it was the venue is like a little bit more out of the way. It wasn't like right in the middle of like Union Square or something like that. So the people that came came and hung out for like all day, and some people came like every day and hung out all day. So this venue, we had like a lounge there, and there was a bar there. We had food trucks come and hang out. So I mean, a lot of the people that came spent, I mean, I don't know, I would guess on average, like at least an hour there at the place, and just kind of chilled, which was great.
It takes at least that long, I think, if you really want to see everything.
Yeah.
Because like, every brand there has, watches out to try on and to handle. And like, if you really want to do that and see, see everything that was on offer there, like it takes at least an hour, I think, to go through and check everything out.
Yeah, it was a successful event, I would say. The food trucks are pretty good too.
Yeah. You guys have some tacos out there?
We had some tacos. Those tacos were pretty good. I think I only had like the fish taco, but I also got a burrito with it. Because in the pictures, all the food looked like small.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I'm going to get a taco and a burrito. And they were both like
massive.
Huge. So I might have even gotten 2 tacos. Zach saw, he's like, what are you doing? And then I had to like make a choice halfway between. I can't go both of these. I got to pick a lane and go. So I think I finished the burrito. But it was good, though, right? It was good.
Yeah, all the food was great. Yeah, really enjoyed it.
Yeah. So you, we got to speak to quite a few of you. Thank you if you showed up and came over to Zach Kazan or myself or Zach Weiss and mentioned the podcast. We appreciated hearing from you. It's always great to get feedback from you. I always ask people usually what type of not what type, but like, do you like it when we have guests on, or do you like it when it's just like totally off the cuff, like we're just kind of chatting? And it seemed to be that's what most people enjoyed hearing. So here you go.
That's what this is.
Just asking. No. We have lots of. We actually have. I'm really excited about some of the guests that we have coming up soon. I don't know when this one is going to air, so I'm not going to say anything about it. But yeah, I legitimately enjoy talking to a lot of the guests we have on. But my favorite is also just kind of chatting watches with Zach, with Josh, and I want to get more people in here in studio, kind of doing that same kind of wrap. So next time it'd be great to do a podcast at the event, at the venue, and just bring some of those people in, like the attendees, into the podcast, like as they come and go, get their thoughts on some of the brands and some of the watches. Some of the people just want to talk they'll bring some of their collection and they just want to chat watches with you,
that's
which
cool.
is really awesome. Like I love it when people do that, and we're all really enthusiastic about that kind of stuff too. And we're always surprised.
A lot of really cool stuff. Like there was some good watch spotting.
Unbelievable. There's some there's some serious hardware that shows up there, and not even just that, not even just like crazy Pateks and stuff like that, but also like old electric Seikos that you didn't know existed, or like really kind of weird out there things that are their own kind of world to fall into. And that one guy, I think you know who I'm talking about. Maybe we'll have him on the podcast too to talk about those old Seikos.
I know who you're talking about. We definitely need to get him on the podcast.
Did any of the brands stand out to you, Zach, that you were like, oh wow, or that were surprising to you, or did you see any brand? Who are you looking forward to the most to see?
I mean, I'm always looking. I mean, I don't want to. It's hard to pick favorites. I don't want to. No, I'm not gonna play that game. So we shot some video footage with some of these brands, and one that I had a chance to spend some time with Don from Vertex watches, and I was really impressed with this is the first time I had seen. I think I had maybe seen a Vertex watch at a meetup like a couple of years ago when the brand was first kind of like reintroduced. But he had the entire product line out, and to see them all together was really great. And I was really impressed with the Vertex Aqualion dive watch in particular, which kind of like very toolish, like not really necessarily my style, but it was just incredibly well made, and I could see myself wearing a watch like that on a regular basis if I want to just go like a really robust, like kind of utilitarian sports watch. I was very impressed with that.
Some might even call it a tool watch, Zach.
I think it's definitely definitely a tool watch. Sometimes I find myself kind of leaning back into like that tool watch area. Like there's a lot of watches on my, on that like mental list that we keep of watches.
Trying to come back to the dark side.
There are more tool watches.
That's all right. We welcome you with open arms. No, I mean you're totally spoiled for choice. There's so many cool things coming out, and at the show you get to see all this stuff just kind of on display. I agree. I was pretty impressed with his watches as well. and seeing the Minase was right next to.
Oh yeah, no, Minase was
pretty
great.
cool to
It's
see
great
as
to see
well.
those in person. Yeah.
And yeah, I'm really glad they came. And then of course Baltic, always kind of pretty popular. He had all of the MR01 variants there.
Wish I was there to see those.
Yeah, it was great. And Etienne, who's always a pleasure. We will have him on the podcast too, or actually we already have, I guess, by the time this goes up, because that's it's going up tomorrow. So we talked to him and Guillaume of Nevada Grenchen about some of the stuff they have.
Yep.
It was really awesome to meet Guillaume. I'd never met him before, only through emails, and to kind of see what he's working on. And some of the what brand I'm really excited about coming back is Volcane.
Yeah,
and seeing some of the modern renditions of the cricket, I think is really, really cool. And seeing how he's been involved there, I hope it's okay that I say that. But he's just got some really cool stuff up his sleeve that I'm excited to see. And again, Etienne had something on his wrist that I'm really excited about as well. I think that's coming relatively soon, the next couple of months. So we'll look forward to having more on that. We had who else was popular there? Well, they were all pretty popular, I will say. But those colorful plastic watches, not plastic, were they plastic from Maurice Lacroix?
They're they're upcycled ocean plastic.
Okay, you gotta show some respect for this stuff. You just say plastic, but then it's like actually it's like ceramic, or it's some it's some like thing. You can't just say plastic. But no, it was good to see those watches, and I felt like a lot of people were taken with those over the weekend. It's a kind of a love-hate type thing with those. But we're coming into summer, and colorful watches are right there on the mind.
They're a fun, lightweight summer watch. Priced well under $1,000, I think. I think those are pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Bill Yao was there. It was great to see Bill Yao. And one of the other watches that I'm really excited about is Fortis. So we talked about that new movement that they have, and they had the watches that they're going into there at the desk, but they couldn't allow us to photograph them or anything, not like publicly out there, I guess. But I'm pretty excited about them. They look really cool, I think, and a little unexpected, I guess I will say, and I'll just leave it at that. But yeah, overall pretty cool. Mike France came from Christopher Ward. It was really cool to see him. They had those Aquitaine watches. Those are sapphire bezel inserts, which was pretty cool. So, and I feel like that's something that I've been seeing more and more of pop up lately as well. Sapphire inserts for these things. The new Seiko Astron GPS watch also has a sapphire insert as well. And it looks really thin too. So I don't know how they're doing this stuff, but this maybe like as a material, like I remember MB&F, like the HM2, I believe it's like they did a rendition of it that's like a sapphire sandwich, and then the HM4 has this like middle carriage piece that's all done in sapphire. And I remember hearing like back then just how difficult it is to work with this material. And
the HM9, the one I wrote about that a year or so ago, that one has like 9, it's like sapphire crystals like incorporated into the case. Like basically the entire case is sapphire. It's crazy.
I wonder if it's getting to the stage where like it's easier, it's more cost effective or something to work with, that you're starting to see it pop into like more applications like bezel inserts. And
I don't think it's easier. I think it's a flex. I think like brands are just kind of
maybe.
I
always take it as a sign though when I see stuff like that trickle down into like the Christopher Wards of the world.
But you're right, like you do start to see it a little bit more.
Like maybe there's something, like maybe it's like something happened, to where like, oh, this is like a really hard thing to do, and now it's like, okay, we're using them in the bezels in our like $1,000 dive watches. I don't know, but it's cool. I like seeing that, and it has a really cool look too. Like that kind of, it like matches that, because the old ones, they like the acrylic inlays, they had this like depth to them. So anyways, it's a cool application. And Tornik Rayville does that. I think they still do the acrylic in theirs.
Yeah, I think so.
You know what I think who should have done this? The Doxa Army reissue. I think that would have been killer with the sapphire inlay. to
What
kind
is
of
it?
recreate
What is the?
It's just an
bezel?
aluminum, or it might be a ceramic or aluminum insert that's in there, but it's it's flat. I mean, you don't really think of it. It looks fine, but like the original had that kind of like layered, clear depth. I think it would have been cool. What were your thoughts on the Doxa Army, Zach?
Definitely not really my style.
Not your jam. Okay.
But I think it's a I think it's cool that they are continuing to kind of like raid the archives, and that's like a really like niche watch. We'll link to Zach's article on the other
Synchron
version of that. Yeah, exactly. The
Synchron,
Synchron, and that has great photos of the original Doxa Army alongside it. So, kind of an interesting watch to go back to. Like I said, it's not really to my taste.
Are you a fan of the Sub 300?
It's fine. It's not really.
So none of the Doxa design.
Yeah, like the
really
Doxa cases. Like I like the look of them kind of in the abstract, but whenever I try one on, I always just think like this doesn't look right.
Okay.
So virtually like every Doxa case I've ever tried, I kind of have that.
So this
feeling.
I liked this case quite a bit, but I'm a fan of the Sub 300. And this is I know it's an aesthetic that's like maybe not for everybody for sure. It's the case though. It's like a ceramic case, but it's a thinner case. It's under 12 millimeters in total, the thickness of it. Josh is looking at it now. What do you think?
Yeah, what's it called? I forgot that this was Doxa. Yeah, I'd seen this, and I thought it was really really cool. I've always kind of wondered how this actually wears on wrist too. Like I've never actually seen one out in the wild. I think the pictures that I've seen of not of this new version, but of the older version of it, or the
original one is quite rare. But that Synchron that looks just like Zach has had in here a few times.
Okay.
That's probably what.
Maybe I might be confusing it for that, but I actually kind of like this aesthetic. I don't know if it's actually for me or not. It's one of those watches I look at it, I'm just like, that's really cool. I don't know if I could pull it off though.
Yeah.
But I have a huge appreciation for it. Like I think the dials, like the colors and the dials, like really beautiful. But yeah, I just kind of wonder how that wears though. That's the only thing.
Yeah, so I think it wears pretty well compared to other. And like I said, I'm kind of a fan of the Sub 300. I would still just get like a silver dial Sub 300, the Shark Hunter, and in steel, and I'd be fine with that. But I liked how this case wore. I think they only made like 100 of them though, so it doesn't really matter anymore. I'm only assuming they're long gone. But thank you to Watch of Switzerland and James Lamden for having us out to check that thing out in person. It was very cool to see. And talk about. That's another place you should go into if you want to hang out. They've got a lounge in the whole basement.
Oh, really?
It's pretty cool.
Right. Yeah, I will definitely do that.
Yeah, it's in the Soho one.
Okay,
the one over in Hudson Yards. You might get a bit chilly reception over there.
Different vibe over there.
Yeah. Maybe not though. I don't want to mean to cast aspersions on watches.
Aspersions have been cast. It's too late.
My experiences have been a little colder.
I mean, overall, Hudson Yards versus Soho, it's a different vibe.
It's a different vibe. Yeah. Yes. So, is there any other new releases that had caught your eye over the past week or two here?
Well, you wrote about the Rado Captain Cook overpole.
Yes,
that's a new release. I think it's kind of cool.
It is cool. I like the size of that too.
Yeah, 37 millimeters, right?
Yeah, 37, and it's a hand wound movement.
Did you get to try that on in person?
No, we just Zach and I were on I don't know, the digital presentation that they do for these things before they release. So they kind of walk you through all the new collection, and that was one that kind of immediately caught our eye. And so the bezel, it's a ceramic bezel, and etched into it are like all 24 time zones, or at least representatives of maybe like 12 different time zones. I don't know if they got 24 cities on there or something like that, but there's actually like 38 time zones if you count the like half hours and all that kind of stuff. But the cities representative of the 1 hour increments of universal time coordinated are written on the dial. There is no 24-hour hand here though. There's no button to adjust the hour hand quickly to local time. It's just a reference. So there is a 24-hour scale on the inside of the dial. So you can rotate the bezel, and if it's like 10 o'clock in New York, you can put the New York on the 10, and then you will have a reference to see what time it is.
That's what I was wondering. I was wondering if the bezel was fixed or you.
Yeah, so it's rotating. So it's that, but it's not like something that you would I guess, actively used to. It's a good like reference point.
It's like a lazy man's world timer.
Yeah.
I think is what you call it.
Yeah.
That's a good way of putting it.
It looks pretty cool though. Like, and it's a watch.
Yeah,
that they
no,
used,
like
they
I
used
love
to
the
make.
aesthetic of it. It's really nice looking.
Yeah, it's a great looking watch. It's a great size. And I mean the base Captain Cook, it's a handsome watch, you know, and it's in a great size, and it's got the hand wound movement in it. So, so I think that one will be quite popular as well. They're still calling it Captain Cook, but I don't think they're
not the
getting.
greatest,
I don't think they're
but,
getting pushed off of that.
Yeah.
Off of that one. So, it is what it is. But it's a handsome watch, and it's just a funky. It's just funky enough to be like, oh, okay, I kind of dig that.
Yeah.
Like the world timer that's still just a time only three-hander. You know, it's cool. All right. So the other thing that we want to talk about was a movie that came out, Keepers of Time, directed by Michael Kublia, who we are trying to get onto the podcast right now. Actually, so keep an eye out for that. They had a big launch there. We were just getting back from San Francisco, so unfortunately we weren't able to make it. But Zach, you watched the movie in full. I have it. I think I've watched about half of it so far. It's been a busy couple weeks.
Yeah.
Impressions of this thing? Did you enjoy it? How does it stand up to Heat?
Totally. It's actually very similar to Heat.
It's very similar to
surprisingly.
Heat, okay.
Yeah. You haven't watched the second half of it, but there is a very large bank robbery.
Okay,
good. In the second half of Keeper of Time. Yeah. Very loud. Be sure to turn your volume all the way up for the full effect. It's a wonderful movie. I mean, any watch lover should definitely check it out. I was kind of surprised that it's not really like about watches. I don't know if people are expecting that, but it's really more kind of like a think piece on like the philosophy of timekeeping itself. And there's plenty of like watch spotting and like Philippe Dufour and Max Busser and all sorts of people in the watch industry are interviewed for the movie. Plenty of people that we've had on the podcast, in fact, are make appeapperances in this movie.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I looked at the roster, almost all of them have been on our podcast before.
Yeah, a lot of very familiar faces and voices in the movie, which is great to see.
Yeah.
But there's also like a lot of kind of like academics, who kind of like do work in like philosophy or history, kind of talking about like the social and philosophical and psychological impacts of timekeeping, and that to me I think was really the most interesting part of this movie.
Interesting.
So
Okay.
definitely worth checking out if you're into watches, because there's definitely that sort of content, but it will make you kind of like think about like the nature of timekeeping and why that's important. Or maybe not important, in the grand scheme of things.
Like our relationship with not only these things on our wrists, but the concept of keeping time, I guess.
Yes. Yeah.
Did you come out of it with any like, I hadn't thought about that, or did you come out of it like kind of thinking about your own, like your experience of this vis-a-vis the watches that you own?
Not so much the watches that I own, but yeah, sure. Like it definitely makes you think about, how you spend your time and like your relationship, to time. It'll get you thinking about that if you're open to it, I think.
Oh, great. So you come out of it like, I'm really lazy. Like,
what am I doing with my life? What am I doing
with my life? No, it's interesting. And of course this is, subject matter that we don't get a whole ton of documentary work on. So, and obviously this is kind of like touched a cultural note here over the past like decade. So, so I think it's worth kind of stopping to take a look at something other than just like the relationship that we have with like the things that we buy and the status of it and all that kind of stuff, but what it really means, I guess, and why it's gotten this way.
Yeah. The other thing I'll say about it is that it's very, very well made. Like the production values are excellent. Like you get a lot of, when it does kind of shift to watches and clocks and automatons and all the other kind of like physical things that it looks at, like you get a lot of really great kind of like close up photography and videography of watches and movements and things. So it's really nice looking. And there's also just like a lot of like great shots of like the Valley de Joux and like the Swiss countryside, and it's a beautiful movie to watch. Like I really, it's if you're into just kind of like almost like nature documentaries and that sort of thing, like you'll probably get something out of this too. It's nice looking.
Yeah. Oh, very cool. Is this on, like, can people just go somewhere and watch it?
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask. Is it streaming anywhere yet? It sounds very
so it's there's a website, we'll link to it in the show notes, but I believe it's just keeperoftime.com. I purchased it on Vimeo. It's $15. So there's a Vimeo app on the Apple TV, and you just fire that up, and you're good to go.
And our friend William Messina is in it as well.
Yes, William Messina is in it. He's a producer on the movie as well. So, like I said, a lot of familiar faces in the film.
He's always got some pretty good takes.
He tells the story of his first watch in the movie, and he has this kind of collection sort of spaced out. Gary Steingart is in the movie, talking about his relationship to watches. He's always fun to see on screen. A lot of great interviews in the film. He's another guy that would be fun to have on the podcast that absolutely. I don't believe we have. Very cool. I know I really enjoyed the bits that I saw of it, and again, we're working to get the director on the podcast so we can kind of chat a little bit deeper about it with him when we do. Zach, if you were going to make a documentary about watches, would it be all about like the locales that Grand Seiko draws inspiration from? I mean, they would have to be like a multi-part. We do like a different like part for each like micro season. Is that kind of the idea?
So then you could get a feel like, this is the experience of that micro season.
Yeah,
like very briefly.
I might need to take a sabbatical to get that.
Yeah. No, I like the idea of kind of looking deeper into these. I was reading a book too that Vermont had gifted me called Longitude. That's also kind of had me thinking a little bit closer, or like how much we take for granted, like just how important accurate timekeeping has been to history, except for just like this very recent little blip that we're experiencing right now, to where it's just kind of like totally taken for granted almost. But yeah, no, we'll link that Longitude in the show notes as well. So Zach, anything else? You went to a meetup, a watch meetup, Booze and Bezels.
Booze and Bezels, monthly meetup. Yeah.
Did you see anything? New and exciting there?
Anything new? So what I saw at Booze and Bezels was I saw a bunch of worn and wound ex Seiko 5s. Like a bunch of us in the group. We all brought our worn and wound Seiko 5s and got a picture. I think there's like 4 or 5 nice. In the group, so got a nice group shot. So it's cool. It's always cool to see that watch or any worn and wound collaboration in the wild. We saw a bunch at Windup in San Francisco recently, obviously. So that meeting's always fun. There's a lot of cool stuff, a lot of interesting micro brands, and a buddy of mine just bought a new Omega Speedmaster Dark Side of the Moon, which is cool to see. It's been a while since I'd seen one of those. So always good stuff at a watch meetup. It's fun to just like try stuff on that's not yours and just kind of fantasize.
Always.
One of the more fun aspects of the hobby.
Josh, we got to bring you to a red bar with us or something one of these times. Not that we go all that often, but it's a fun group. And like, if you want to just experience a ton of different watches, it's a good spot to do it. And I've been talking with the guys too about ways that we can kind of get into more cities other than just like the San Francisco, Chicago, New York, but like other places, and do like sponsor little meetups or pick up the tab at a pub for an evening or two for watch people, and that maybe Zach, you and I would fly out to wherever it is, St. Louis or something like that.
I think that'd be really cool
and do it, because I think the wind-up experience is great and all that kind of stuff, but I don't want us to feel like we're purely like, well, you have to be in one of these kind of like the coastal elites, like we are. You have to be out here to get into it. But I think we want to make this hobby more accessible and approachable to everyone, and I think we need to kind of go into more spaces to experience enthusiasm with people in a greater diversity of areas. So
I actually saw a watch over the weekend that was really interesting. It was It was at a NFT meetup that I was at.
An NFT meetup?
Yes.
Oh my.
There's a whole bunch of them in New York.
Okay.
I'm sure people.
You're not helping here, Josh.
I know people are gonna have all.
Was the
their
NFT meetup in like a real physical space, or was it in like the metaverse?
No, we all had our avatars. We were all just walking around in this blank space in the meta. No, I'm just playing.
You had me.
I know.
Like, wait, really?
But this guy, speaking of like not being in like one of these, major hubs or major cities, he was from somewhere in South Carolina or whatever. But he had a micro brand on called, I think the name of the watch company is called Gane, Gane, and it was like a salmon dial. I don't remember the model number, but I think they only have one watch so far. I think they're relatively new, but it was really, really beautiful. I think when I looked them up, I think like it's based off of I think like the dial is supposed to be based off of like a sundial or something like that. It had like these what's it called, like the dial kind of curved outwards towards the bezel, and then each of the hour markers was just like these like indentations. So it's like really, really like indentations like in the dirt, like a sundial. Yeah. So it was really, really beautiful watch. And if I remember correctly, I think it was somewhere around like $500, $600, and it was
nice.
Yeah, it was really, really nice. I was like sitting there, I was like, yeah, that might be on my radar of something to pick up at some point. I was really surprised by it too. Randomly, I just like walked up to him. I was like, "What is that?"
So are NFT guys watch guys?
Some of them, yeah. Some of them are. I've seen a few things out there.
Maybe they're like, you should see my collection of watches, of NFT watches.
Yeah. I mean, some of them. I mean, the two other guys I've seen. I mean, there's like a Panerai and a Daytona. So, but I was just like, those don't get me as excited. But
wah, wah. But the gain.
Yeah, but the gain.
that's where it's at.
Yeah.
No, I feel like the merging of these spaces might be more inevitable than people realize.
Yeah.
Like this kind of stuff in some form or another, and maybe it'll like be presented in a way that makes more sense. If you don't understand NFTs right now, I'd leave it to some like bigger household name brands to figure out a way to use it that's like, oh, okay, yeah, that adds value to me, to this watch or to this brand or whatever it may be. So maybe not to everybody, but to some people. So it'll be interesting to see how that unfolds. That's cool though. I'm interested about that NFT meetup.
Yeah,
okay. But like
a bunch of them.
Like we were talking about last time, you could just put on the thing and be in the virtual space.
Actually, someone did bring the Oculus goggles or whatever, and they had
Then the guy from South Carolina could have just stayed home and popped his thing on, and you all been like in the same room, right?
Yeah, it was pretty cool because I've never actually put on any of those like VR headsets before, and it was like he was something about like where he has like some program where like you could draw your own NFT right there in the meetup, whatever, and then mint it afterwards or something like that. So, but yeah, I was like, don't get me wrong, I'm still very new to the NFT world too. Okay. So, but I know I know everyone's like, oh, where's the value in these things? And I'm just like, you have a point with a lot of them. I'm not going to lie, but
hey, this is how when we're all like in the Matrix thing.
Yeah,
this is our stuff that we that we own.
Yeah.
By the way, I watched that movie on the plane. I wish I could get that time back in my life.
The newest Matrix,
the new Matrix. Yes.
Yeah. I liked it.
You liked it, of course.
I liked it. I liked how. So I watched it twice. And
was it supposed to be kind of like a meta level?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So I kind of like at the second time through, I kind of like I enjoyed that aspect of it quite a bit more. Like the whole movie's just kind of a joke, and I think that it's funny and kind of incredible that they were able to make this like big budget action movie part of this like pretty important like action movie franchise that really is just sort of like making fun of itself and the entire movie industry and comic book nerds and video game nerds and like all these, like it's really just kind of, it's like it's a satire more than it is an action movie.
Okay, if I had gone into it with that in mind, I think it would have been a different experience. But it was I don't know what I was expecting. I guess more like Matrix level stuff. But then I was like, what are they I don't want to spoil anything, I guess, if you haven't seen it, but there's definitely a lot of like fourth wall kind of like I don't know, like a deep, not like where they look at the camera or something, but where they're like literally taking down the process of like what they're doing and making the movie, and like the original status and culture and all this kind of stuff. But I don't know about that one. It's all right. Keanu Reeves is still cool in my book, right? So, and the bad guy. one bad guy that's from that show that I wish they still made on Netflix about where they talk to the murderers. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't.
You don't watch
No.
this?
I mean, the bad guy is Neil Patrick Harris, so
Yeah, but the other guy. The other bad guy, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. I know who you're talking about. I don't know the show, but I know.
Yeah, I don't know the show.
Yeah, show where they go and like talk to the murderers, and that's like the whole show.
It's not.
They made 2 seasons of it, but the second season they just focused on one of them.
It's not like Making a Murderer or anything.
No, it's not that. Yeah. But anyways, I like him, and I think the guy was in like a Broadway show too, and he was great in it as well. He just throws himself entirely into these roles. It's great. We'll put who he actually is in the show notes. I'm sure once I.
Someone's right now. Someone's right now listening.
We'll look it up. We'll figure it out.
Someone is screaming into their like you yeah. Wow, that's gonna bother me the rest of the day. All right. Well, on that beautiful note, we will let you go. If you came by the San Francisco Windup, thank you. We appreciated hearing from you. And if you are in the Midwest, please come by the Chicago one. We would love to meet you. If you're in New York, come to the New York one in October. They are fantastic. And in the meantime, hopefully we'll get a few of these other kind of like pop-up meetup things spun up. So keep an eye out for that. Until then, thanks for listening. Take care.